one of whom you've already heard from. The other three you have not had a chance to meet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment, and guys, if you would, just take a brief moment to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and the organization that you represent among the 45 different organizations that are present at this conference. So Sam, we're going to start with you.
Hey guys, my name is Sam Chacko. I direct the startup coaching with Stadia Church Planting. I pastor a local church in the Dallas area as well. Hey, my fellow Dallas friend. All right, good to see you today, Sam. Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff Bennett. Flew in this morning from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm executive director with Multiply Project.
All right, thanks. We're glad to have you here, Jeff. All right, Chad.
Yeah, Chad Clarkson. I serve as a pastor of church planting down at a church in the southeast side of Houston, and I serve as the director of a group in the city called the Houston Church Planting Network.
All right.
Obi Arellano. I'm the CEO and founder of Exponential Espanol. I'm from Mexico, and I'm all over. So.
All right. Well, welcome to this gathering here, even though you're from all over.
Yeah.
And glad to have you guys here. All right. So just so we've got all the cards on the table. We want to be candid with you. They've seen the questions that I'm going to ask them. So maybe I'll change them, since Obi's already preached most of them. All right. And
sorry.
We'll navigate this, but I think it ties in really well with what Josh just finished preaching about. This first question that I have for us, and that is that, you know, how is it, guys, that we get we lose track of the ever increasing number of people who are living life without Jesus, even though we are busy with ministry? Why do you think that's taking place? How is that laying out? Jeff, weigh in here for me. You know, why do you think it's so easy for us to lose sight of the ever-increasing number of people who are living life without Jesus?
Yeah, I think it's easy because we are in ministry, and we've talked a lot about events and programs. It's very easy to get insulated in our ministries to where we're only working and serving with insiders, which then we forget about those who aren't inside, who are far from God. And so I think that makes it easy. I think proximity is a big deal. And I think as we get busy in ministry maintenance to insiders, I think a big question we all have to ask is, who's our one? Who are folks that are far from God that we know? And if we don't have personal relationships, I mean, it's easy for them to become out of sight when we're not in proximity of them.
Talk a little bit about that proximity for just a minute, then we'll go to Sam here. But when you say proximity, what do you mean by proximity? Yeah. Proximity to who? Proximity to what?
I think being very intentional in rubbing shoulders with people who are far from God. Being very intent, because again, our ministries become very focused on serving believers and serving those on the inside. And so I think you have to be very intentional with your time, with your priorities, to be in relationship with those who aren't in a relationship with God. Because if you're not, it's easy for them to be out of sight and out of mind.
Yeah, because we're paid to be at the building, or we're paid to entertain the saints, kind of thing. Sam, what do you think? Why is it so easy for us to lose sight?
Yeah, I'll give you a very personal example. Our church just bought a new building. We've just moved
Congratulations.
in, thank you, about 3 months ago. And one of the things that I was trying to be intentional on is we're in a brand new neighborhood. So at least once a week, I'm just walking the neighborhood, right? Just trying to connect with people. And as I've talked with families in the area, I was like, tell me what do you know about the church that used to be here? And most of them didn't even know a church existed, right? Because they did not engage in their own community, but the church just became so internally focused, they forgot that the community around them needed the love of Jesus. And so it's so easy for us to get super busy. It's so easy for us to focus on programs, events, our own people. They're broken, they've got hurt, that we forget that we're actually called to the people of the community that we're placed in. And so even like simple things of walking your neighborhood, like where your church is, just meeting your neighbors. It doesn't take a lot of work, but we don't do things where we're engaging in the places where God has called us to love and serve.
Appreciate that, Sam. Obi, you mentioned that one of the shifts we need to think about is going from internal to external. I'm just curious if you want to weigh in on this dynamic of how it is that we lose sight. We just lose sight.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff and Sam already shared that, but I think that just we get so caught up in what we're doing every single day to make church happen every single week that our focus to the internal programs takes most of our time, and we lose track of how much time we need to be investing in people.
Yeah, Sunday comes every week, right, Chad?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And with that pressure of Sunday, it I think weighs in a lot on that. So Chad, just out of curiosity, what do you do in your life to help you stay focused on those people who are far from God, or those people living without Jesus?
Yeah, I think you have to be intentional about it. I think that's what even Jeff had started to allude to. And one of the things we have, not only me, but at our church and the culture that we've developed there, we have everybody that has like a top 5 card. So it's like, it's into the DNA of the church. It's like, all right, who's your top 5? Mm-hmm. And so it's, most people keep in their Bible. We have a top 5 app. And so you got those names right there that you're always thinking about, you're praying for, you're thinking about how do I develop intentional conversations with them. And so it's been cool to see the stories over time. Like as people come up and get baptized, it's like, oh, the person baptized them. Hey, I was on their top 5 list. We have people that are now on our church staff that at one time were on somebody's top 5 list.
Wow.
So it's cool to think about, yeah.
Yeah, top 5 list. I think that's good. Keeping the names in front of us is a great way to kind of build that proximity that Jeff talked about. All right, Sam, here's a question for you. Why do you feel like it may be challenging or hard to release somebody that you've been discipling to be a disciple maker? Why do you think that's such a challenge for us in the church? We talk about making disciples all the time, but there's this dynamic of like, at what point, how do you know, are they really ready to go, and why is it hard to tell somebody you've been discipling to go?
I mean, I think 3 things come to mind. Number 1, control. We're afraid to let things go and let people own things, so we own most of the stuff that we do.
Who's the we that you're talking? The pastor,
or the leaders, or the staff. And so we're not raising up our lay folks to say, hey, you are called to be on mission for Jesus. 2, clarity. I think disciple making often is, hey, what do you know about Jesus? It is head knowledge, but then how do you live this out? Like, are we raising disciples to go be followers of Jesus in the medical field? Are we raising up disciples to be the best educators, the best construction workers, or are we just giving them head knowledge about Jesus, and because they can quote scripture, we think they're good, right? Like, how are they living out their faith for Jesus? And then I think the other part is on-ramp. Where are we walking with them? Where are we helping them process through, hey, what is God teaching you? Who is God calling you to invest your life in? And just where are those spaces that we're creating to say, who has God called you to reach?
Who has God called you? So there's just a sense of, Chad, I'd love for you to just weigh in here just a bit on maybe a real life experience of, like, I've been discipling somebody and I released them to go make disciples and they did it. You got anything you want to weigh in there, or story that you want to share with us with regards to how is it that we can be more active in that? We've discipled you, now you go and disciple someone else.
Yeah, I think anytime you think about multiplication at any level, multiplication, there's an element of risk, right? Multiplication is always risky, whether it's like, all right, I'm investing in a disciple, I'm going to start a new group that's going to multiply, we're going to start a church, we're going to start a network, whatever it is. There's an element of risk. And for me, I know I may have a little control issues. So I like control. I like to know what's going to happen.
Wait, hold on. Can we take a moment here? Would you just say your name, first name, and hi, my name is.
My name is Chad. I struggle with control.
Hi, Chad.
Thank you. You know, you like it a certain way, and the same with people you're invested in. So we spend a lot of time invested in church planters, and it's like, oh, you want it a certain way, but you just got to realize, man, all right, it's not about control, it's not about fear, but it's about, like the word up there, what does it look like to release? And that's what Jesus was, right? Jesus was a catch and release fisherman. That's kind of what we think about it. It wasn't like, hey, I'm keeping these fish with me. I'm releasing them out into mission, into ministry.
Okay, you resonated with that. Yeah. Go ahead, weigh in a little bit on that. Why did that strike a chord with you, that catch and release fisherman? Why did that strike a chord with you?
we want to accumulate as many disciples for us. So the catch and release is not about us making disciples. There's a little bit of ego there. We want to be known as, man, Pastor Obi or whoever has the most disciples ever, right? And we just lose track of the fact that we have to do the catch and release. That's a great analogy for that.
Well, when you were saying that, I was just sitting there thinking of how, like, I want to catch and release, but I want to release them into my aquarium. I want to release them into my aquarium rather than to release them back out into the wild. You know, I mean, isn't that what we do in our disciple making? We just like, okay, we're going to teach you how to be good church people. And we're not going to engage, as Sam said, you know, hey, this is how you go out into the medical field. This is how you go out. I mean, we maybe do it with school teachers, but I don't think we think about it with the construction worker, or we think about it as much in, you know, the fields of engineering that are out there. So, yeah, I think that I love that idea of catch and release. So if you didn't write that in your notes, write that in your notes. We're to be catch and release, but not to our aquarium. Okay, release out from there. Okay, so there's this idea, this buzzword that's running around, and it relates to this idea of discipleship, but it's this idea of apprenticeship. And I think that in our professionalism of ministry, that there is an increasing number of people who are going, hey, we need to bring on interns or residents or develop some sort of apprenticeship program. And I'm just curious from you, as you think about this dynamic of apprenticeship, how does apprenticeship help us in the tension of event planning that comes with ministry? How does apprenticeship help us in that tension? Jeff, let's start with you, thinking through raising up leaders, apprenticing. Okay, but we have Sunday coming, so shouldn't we get an intern to make sure that Sunday programming happens?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, all of us got into ministry because of people. None of us were looking to become glorified event planners, right?
Well, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe that's you. I don't know. But you probably feel like that at times. And I think, let's face it, events are good. I mean, we're at an event right now. There's a lot of good that can come from it, but apprenticeship is better. Events are a tool. They're a great tool. They're a horrible master, right? And I think for a lot of us, what fills our calendars are events, and so we feel enslaved to that. I think some of the challenges are for events, events can create some great moments, but apprenticeship creates movement, because apprenticeship is helping build and develop people. Events consume capacity. People keep increasing capacity.
All right, let's say that again, because I think it's really a powerful thought there. Events consume capacity.
Yes. And people, I mean, you think about the money, the time, the people to pull off an event each and every week or each and every year or whatever it may be. But man, when you're building people, when you're doing apprenticeships, you're actually increasing the capacity of your mission and your church body. Events inspire. That's another thing. Events and programs can inspire. And I don't know about you, I need inspiration. I love to be inspired. But inspiration fades, right? Events have just like they're almost like cars. The value kind of goes down over time, depreciates. But apprenticeship, I mean, that just continues to transform, not just inspire, but actually transform. And that's long lasting. And so I think that's where, apprenticeship is huge. But again, I think to make it happen, which I think is another question, is you have to be intentional to recalendar your schedule with apprenticeship in it. And I think that's where you're going to be a slave to the events because it's always there. You've got to start building in time of going, and I think you start small. I think there's a lot of churches, to your point, Malcolm, that are going, we need to be apprenticing people. We need residency. And they try to build this big thing first. And I would go, you know what, just actually who are one or two people that you could start building into? And as the pastor or a leader in your church, make it a personal priority. It'll become a church priority over time. But make it a personal priority and start filling some times in your week with that as a priority.
So if I hear you right, Sunday service is getting in the way of us making disciples because that it owns our calendar, and we need to think about our calendar being something that's owned by investing in someone, learning how to invest in people. Is that?
I agree, yes. I mean, again, somebody was up here earlier talking about don't get rid of the events. We're not getting rid of the Sunday. I'm not poo-poo on the Sunday gathering, but holding it, I would never do that, but holding it in the right priority of going, we are in the people business, right? Jesus didn't commission us to
Go be party planners.
right, to plan and execute great events. He commissioned us to go reach and disciple people.
Sam, you want to weigh in on some of this?
Yeah, I think events take resources like money and people. What apprenticeship takes is your time. You're sitting with someone, you're having coffee with someone, you're discipling them, pouring into them. And what that does, you are reproducing yourself. You're pouring into someone else. You are raising up another leader. You are having folks come around you to share the load with you. And the investment is worth it because it's what Obi said earlier. Either you're building your castle or you're building the kingdom. And your castle will one day collapse. The kingdom is here yesterday, today, forever. And so...
Appreciate that. Obi or Chad, either one of you, just kind of playing a little bit more with that catch and release idea and tying it to the apprenticeship modeling. How do you go about apprenticing someone? Because, I mean, it's a nice buzzword, but, I mean, what are some things that you maybe guys engage in that is like, this is what it means to be an apprentice of Obi or an apprentice of Chad?
The churches that we've led and the leaders that we've developed and the disciples that we make, we've always taught them the 5 steps to apprentice someone else. 5 simple steps. I know it's very practical, but it's anybody can do it at any level, whether it's just a person following Jesus doing those steps or someone serving at a specific ministry. But apprenticing someone through those 5 steps will help them understand like a lot of the things and nuances of not just serving, but also following Jesus. And those 5 steps is the I do, you watch, we talk. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. The first step, you do what you do, have them observe what you do, and then you guys talk afterwards. Hey, what you observe? The second step is I do, you help. We start inviting them to start doing little things of whatever we're doing, and then we talk. Step 3 is you do, I help, we talk. So then we flip it and we start putting a little bit more responsibility on them. And the talking part is important because we're coaching them, we're giving feedback, we're teaching. We're showing Jesus, showing scripture along the way. Step 4 is you do, I watch. We talk. So the first step is just do it. I'm going to be observing and then give you feedback on how things are going. And the final one is you do, someone else watches. So on the 5th one, essentially, you release them for them to do what you taught them to do. And then don't just release them, you give them the expectation that as soon as they leave, they have to find someone and repeat the process with them. And essentially, that is discipleship. It's slow. It's like a slow burner type of thing, but it eventually becomes exponential. If we think about Jesus, 3 years he spent with 12 disciples. 3 years. And then he released them, and then they repeated it. And then, I mean, if you do the math, it takes a few generations, and it's exponential growth there.
Yeah.
Hey, Malcolm, he said something very important that I think could be easily missed when it comes to apprenticeship. You talked about you do, yeah. I do. We tend to think, at least I'm guilty of this, in the church, that like it's all about knowledge, that it's just about teaching, reading. It's like, what do they need to know? And the key really to apprenticeships is the doing. It's activity-based. That's what Jesus did with the disciples.
Doing it together.
Yes, doing it together.
I think there's an important piece that weighs in there because one of the things that stood out to me, and I'm guilty of this, I don't know if you guys are guilty of this, I probably make better apprentices of serving than I make apprentices of Jesus. Like, I can make really good church servers. Like, I can train you how to wait a table and how to, break the communion bread, and I can train you how to run the lights and the sound and even how to stand up here and preach, but did I teach you the way of Jesus? And I think that for me, that's a conviction point that I've been wrestling with for a number of years, even trying to define what does it look like to live the way of Jesus? Not just go to church, but to live the way of Jesus. Obi, you want to wait?
And the key to that is doing life together. Teaching people to do a task, that's easy. Anybody can learn to do a task, or if they have the skill to learn whatever it is, right? But showing them the way of Jesus, they need to see it modeled in someone else. So then that means we need to invite them into our lives so they can observe how we live our lives at home with our kids, how we parent, how we...
That sounds way too personal, Obi. I'm not sure that I have time for that.
And that's my point. That's my point. Because it does seem too personal, or it just takes a lot of time of our week. Like, who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Our culture teaches us, do the easy thing, the fast thing to make disciples.
Thank you guys for your feedback on this. We're going to take just a moment here. All right, here's the challenge. I want you to think of something that is on the normal scorecard for a pastor or a church leader. And I want you to think of something that should be removed and replaced with something else. Maybe one or, I'll give you up to even 3 items that you feel like maybe we could exchange this on our scorecard for that. What do you think might fall in there? Chad, we're going to start with you. What if you could change at least one thing, but I'll give you up to 3, that is, hey, we measure this on our scorecard, but let's stop measuring that and let's start measuring this. What would it be? What's in there for you, Chad?
Yeah, as far as, there's a few things on the scorecard. I think one would be not just people that are being discipled, but how many disciple makers do you have? Lots of times I think churches can say, hey, we have this many people in a small group. If that's one of your strategies for discipling people, it's like, all right, we have so many people in small groups, versus saying, no, this is how many people are actually disciple makers in our church, meaning, all right, they're intentionally seeking someone out to what we're doing right here, talking about, to spend time with them, to develop in the ways and the life of Jesus. So I think that's being able to try to track how we're doing that as a church.
I think it's great. I mean, I'm looking at my life and I'm going, hey, I'm discipling 15 people, but how many of those are disciple makers, the 15 people? Those kind of ratios. I was at a conference where somebody was talking about their house church, and they've got too many people showing up at a house church, and they need to find more leaders. So I love that idea of how many disciple makers, not how many disciples, but how many disciple makers that we've got. Good. All right. Somebody else here. Obi, what's something you would swap?
I think we need to stop doing programs at church. If
there was no applause.
There
was no applause. Did you notice that? There wasn't even an amen. It was like, whoa. Watch out. Chad just moved for the sake of lightning. Lightning is coming. All right, go ahead, Obe.
I know it's hard to hear, but programs are not bad. And don't hear me on that. Like, programs are not bad. But when we're asking people, our people, your people, to come to something every day of the week, those that are still doing something every day of the week, we tire them out. They get churched out. And when we ask them to do something that requires life on life, real, raw relationships with others, they're not going to have the energy for that. So we have to be strategic. Don't just cancel everything just because. No. Like, what's one of the programs that you think can be removed without really hurting what you're doing for your church or the community, but removing some things that will require people to go to all the time will create space so that you can tell them, hey, spend this time with your neighbors, with your friends intentionally to start discipling them?
Yeah, I think that that's a great challenge for me because I love to add. And so to say, hey, Malcolm, instead of adding a program this year, what program can you remove that frees up space and time in the people's lives? Appreciate that.
I actually agree with him 100%. I was joking there, but moving over. Yeah.
So you want to get struck by lightning too?
Yeah, I know. But I think what we do, we disciple people into the program of the church and not the purpose of the church. And so
wait,
I think,
say that again for the people in the back.
yeah, we've discipled people into the programs of the church and not the purpose of the church. Yeah. So, and I think the church has often made, as we think about discipleship, as we think about the sending, what we've talked about, it's like, or we've made the church the object of ministry, when in reality, I think the world is meant to be the object of ministry, and the church is supposed to be the instrument of mobilization.
Yeah.
So.
We might have had a really good sermon right there. Ouch. Ouch. All right. Jeff, real quick, we're short on time, so what's something that you would swap?
I'll tell you, I'm seeing some churches now starting to measure baptisms, specifically how many of their baptisms are being performed by non-staff.
Come on now. There's a sermon right there.
It is, and it's really, when you think about apprenticing, when you think about the disciple and number of disciple makers, what happens next is they start baptizing people, and it's not the senior pastor, it's not the staff. So that's one measurement. I would say the other one is more of an internal measurement. Like if you're doing staff reviews, annual, quarterly, however you do those, I think we need to stop reviewing staff for their performance and start reviewing them for empowering. So how are you not doing the job, how are you empowering others to do the work of ministry? So I think those are a couple.
Those are some heavy ones right there, Jeff. Thanks. All right, Sam, your turn. Give us a couple maybe that you'd swap.
I think I'd make it more personal for pastors in this room of our calendars are packed. We are constantly busy, but how much are you creating spaces for God to interrupt, for God to show up, right? Like if an interruption at a coffee shop, or you just stuck in your office that you never have spaces where you can meet people. Are you creating those spaces where, hey, I have a light day, I can work at a coffee shop, and God, would you just interrupt my day with a conversation so you could meet people, connect with people? But I think because we're so busy with programs and events, we tell our people go engage, but we ourselves don't do it because we're busy with so many things that are on our calendar.
So maybe add to our prayer list.
Yeah.
God, interrupt my day. Yeah, I think that, my prayer list doesn't involve that right now, so thanks for that one. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. One of the things that Recalibrate is all about is about making disciples who make disciples. This kind of goes back into a little bit of what we were talking about. What type of people are we actually making? When we're making somebody who is a disciple maker of other disciples who make disciples and those kind of things, what are we discipling people towards? How would you describe that? Real simple, as best you can. What does it look like to disciple somebody in the Jesus way? Sam, we'll start with you and we'll end with Obi.
Yeah, I think when you're sitting with someone asking them, hey, what are your highs of the week? What are your lows of the week? Where have you seen God show up? Where do you need God to show up? And hey, who are you investing in, right? It's simple. It's, hey, where, it doesn't have to be super deep. It's, where are you today? And what is God asking of you? And engaging them to encourage them to live out their faith in the context of wherever God has placed them.
The simplicity of where are you today and what is God
inviting you into?
That's not how most of us define it, but yeah.
All right, so I'll add to that. I'll build on, because I think those are the questions. Where are you currently? Where do you need to be? Where's God inviting? And I think asking them, what do you feel like God's doing in your life? And I think that's where we can help them by asking, okay, so in light of helping them get from here to there, what do they need to learn? That's where some content might be needed. Mm-hmm. What do they need to do? Like, what are the experiences or activities they need? And then what do they need to process? And that's where some of the coaching can come from.
I really like what you're coming at with, Jeff. It's like, what do they need? Not what do I need to share with them, but what do they need and how can I connect them to that? Great. All right, Chad, what's something that you would put in here?
I just think of Jesus' words. We'll go Jesus. Matthew 4, what he's saying, I I want followers and fishermen. Those are the two things, right? Follow me and I will make you fishers of men. So for me, as you're discipling somebody, it's like, all right, you're trying to develop somebody. I'm thinking of my 2 oldest sons right now. Develop people that follow Jesus, but then are also going to fish for men and be on mission. So,
all right.
That's what
It's pretty simple. Follow me and become fishers. All right. Obi.
Last year, Exponential came up with a framework to help define what that looks like. And we came up with a discipleship or discipling someone. It's someone who commits to following Jesus or being with Jesus, being transformed by Jesus, and joining the Jesus mission. So that entails 3 things: being with Jesus, knowing that we have to be transformed to be able to obey and do what he does, and then join him in his mission. And that can be applied to your context, right? So it's more of a framework to help guide people in whatever context that you may be in.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and your input today. And maybe we can have another follow-up conversation that says, what really is this Jesus mission, this Jesus way? So thanks so much. Appreciate you.